Mrs. President, dear colleagues, Struan, I will always remember the first meeting that Struan organized with myself and Paulo Casaca in December 2004 when Mrs. Rajavi came to the European Parliament for the first time. And I must tell you, we worked very hard for that. But it was a great success, and it was a historic meeting that I'm sure you remember, Struan. I am very honored to have worked closely with Struan and, of course, many other colleagues over these years. I think you all know my position on CAM liberty. The demands we have for liberty are logical and fair, and the European Union should support them. The 7 hostages must be freed. United Nations observers and blue helmets should be deployed and have a constant presence at the camp. The United Nations Security Council must request that the investigation into the massacres at Camp Ashraf be sent to the International Criminal Court. T-walls and concrete bunkers must be installed in Camp Liberty for the residents' protection. The European Union and the United States must resettle residents in third countries, democratic countries. We inform all those in Camp Liberty that we are dedicated to following up these demands. Today, I want to share my experience in working with the NCRI, with you, as this is crucial when we look at the current situation in Iran. There is consensus that the Iranian regime is not able to reform. If there were any doubts, 10 months into Rouhani's term, they have all subsided. The only realistic option for Iran is regime change and the establishment of a real, and I underline real, democracy. This is not a dream or an ideal. There is a real alternative capable of directing the transition, and many in this House understand that. Mrs. Rajavi is a true Democrat and a true leader who shows great strength even under pressure and in times of terrible difficulties. I have seen this through working closely with her over the past 12 years. What makes the NCRI a viable alternative? Firstly, their program, based upon legitimate, logical and defendable political lines. Despite the differences in religion, culture, history between Iran and Europe, we have never had any difficulty defending from the European Parliament their program. Their values are fully consistent with ours. The 10-point plan that Mrs. Rajavi is committed to is as democratic as any European party's platform. For instance, I could defend this platform in my own election in Spain with all comfort. The PMOI and the NCRI while not compromising on fundamental issues such as the overthrow of the regime, are flexible and engage in dialogue on other issues. They have shown real ability to find solutions that will benefit both parties engaged in a dialogue, such as the process of removal from the European Union and US blacklists, or the transfer from Ashraf to Liberty, which they agreed to, although it was dangerous, in order to show willingness to compromise with other parties, and they have paid a very high price for it. Secondly, those who deny their broad social base have not looked at the facts. I and many of you have witnessed crowds of the order of 100,000 people at their annual gathering in Paris, in which I have taken part many times, and Struan and many others here. And we are looking forward to the next gathering, Mrs. Rajabi, in next June, because really it's such a colorful event. It's a real feast of democracy, and it's always a pleasure to participate. In spite of facing torture and executions inside Iran, and terrorism and unfair blacklisting outside over the past 35 years, this movement was able to maintain its organization and strength. This would not have been possible without such a broad social support. Thirdly, this organization and its members have some major characteristics, such as willingness to sacrifice and pay the ultimate price for their aspirations. It is through this kind of sacrifice that they were able to endure torture and executions. They have also knowledge, skills, wholehearted dedication. The people I met in my visit to Ashraf and those in the NCRI I meet frequently have all proved to me they are reliable and truly committed to the values we share. Fourthly, tenacity. This resistance has faced major challenges in recent years, being bombed, put on the terror list, transfer of the protection of Ashraf to Iraqi forces, forced transfer from Ashraf to liberty, repeated massacres by the Iraqi forces, just to name a few. Management and leadership during this crisis were peaceful, comprehensive, proving the ability of the movement for regime change and to effectively manage the Iranian society afterwards. Any one of these crises would have been able to bring down a movement, even a very powerful one, or dissolve an administration, even a very strong one. They are clear proof of the mullah's fear of the NCRI. I want to quote the words of a Dutch member of this parliament, who is one of the key advocates of increased ties with the regime. After she visited Iran a few months ago, she said, "It was also remarkable that in each and every meeting that we had, we were criticized as Europeans because there are some members of our parliament who meet with the PMOI, and it was clearly a very sensitive issue. There was real concern of the Iranian side about such meetings taking place." Dear colleagues, to conclude, I should say that we, in Europe, in the West, by not understanding the real position of the resistance, have lost a great deal. Through evaluating the Iranian regime situation, the European Union should listen to the democratic opposition and promote the policy of regime change for a free and fair Iran. If we want to be consistent with our values, if we want to prove real commitment to democracy and human rights, we cannot and we must not be neutral or passive or hesitating. In the long and dedicated fight of the Iranian democratic opposition against the totalitarian regime that oppresses the people with such cruelty, we must be clearly and firmly on one side, the side of the NCRI, the side of Mrs. Rajabi, the side of those that in camp liberty defend with their lives our common cause, the cause of peace, tolerance, human dignity and freedom. Mrs. President, be sure that our support will not fail until the final victory. The victory you deserve and we all hope to share with you one day. Thank you.